On this episode of the Hollywood Sew, I'll show you how to alter a modern pattern to create a Downton Abbey inspired dress. We'll take a stroll through a lovely English garden and top it off with some surprisingly new vintage accessories.
Welcome to the Hollywood Sew, where Hollywood fashion meets handmade fun. I'm your host, Rachel Bird. One of the hottest shows on TV right now is the British period drama Downton Abbey. Now, I bet if you're like me, you would spend most days dressed up as the elegant Lady Mary Crawley. Who wouldn't want to stroll around lush gardens wearing beautifully hand-sewn dresses? A nice idea, but Lady Mary doesn't have to run to the supermarket or pick up her kids from playgroup. So we're going to use her wardrobe as an inspiration to make something a little more practical, so we don't feel like we're going to a costume party in a replica dress. To do this, we're going to take a modern pattern, alter it, adding some vintage touches here and there to really get that period feel.
Design is all about originality. We don't want to make a copy, we want something unique and fresh that shows individual taste.
While working in film and television, I've learnt that even the tiniest element requires a great deal of work, which can be a grueling but ultimately rewarding process. It demands passion and attention to detail. When designing a dress based on a fictional character, it's important to first identify the elements that make up their particular style.
Lady Mary's wardrobe includes layering of delicate fabrics with crochet detailing, dresses with sheer sleeves and sashes for decoration, lace collars and panelling, embellishments like sequins and beading, flowing lines to create a looser silhouette, square necklines and V-shaped inserts. Now you can look for these elements in your pattern search and incorporate them into your design.
Aren't those dresses gorgeous? I can't wait to get started on mine, and I bet you can't either, but let's talk about some of the practicalities of working with a vintage pattern. Now, you might think that you have to work with a vintage pattern to achieve a vintage look, but that's not necessarily the case. Vintage patterns, although beautiful, they can be hard to find and expensive, and the pieces might be missing because vintage patterns could be as old as 100 years by now. So what you can do is look for something called a reproduction pattern. A repro is just a remake of a vintage pattern, but all the pieces are going to be there and the ink will be legible. But that's not what I want to do. I want to look for a modern pattern so that I'm not limited to what's out there as far as vintage patterns, but I can look all over the internet to find something that I like and that's going to look good on my body. Remember, we're not trying to be authentic, we're just trying to get that vintage vibe. So what we can do when looking for a pattern is keep in mind fabrics and colours available at the time of Lady Mary. Let's take a look at those.
Pastel shades of blue and lavender were still very common, with white dresses left over from the Belle Epoque still being worn. Different colours could be worn together in layers by using sheer fabrics like chiffon. Darker coloured dresses and suits were worn with white cotton blouses. Pieces of lace and embroidered fabrics were used to add decoration to solid coloured dresses. Newly available dye colours enabled statement dresses. Bodices and skirts were made up in satin, taffeta and lightweight silks, while wool and linen was used for skirt suits in deep jewel tones. Due to the Orientalism trend, gold was a very popular colour too. Pleats trickled into mainstream fashion, inspired by Fortuny gowns. And Art Deco prints were starting to become widely used.
It's surprising the colours that were available at the time. But let's talk about modernising our look. We want to bring the vintage look into the 21st century so that we don't feel strange when we're out walking about, but we know that what we're wearing is a Downton Abbey inspired dress. So there are a few ways to modernise this look. First off, you could raise the hemline so that it's a little shorter. Even though maxi dresses are really on trend right now, with a long dress, long sleeves and a high neckline, you might feel that you're a little trussed up. So after maybe shortening the hem, you could lower the neckline, and you might want to just remove the sleeves altogether so that you can show off your arms and feel like you're not stuck back in the 20th century. Let me show you 3 ways that I've come up with of incorporating everything that we have discussed.
Option 1 is a day dress based on the Colette Hawthorne pattern. The adjustments include a scalloped lace collar, sheer sleeves using the blouse version of the pattern, and lace panels running down the front of the dress. The fabric is a delicate white-on-white linen check. Option 2 uses the Burda-style double-layer dress with a crochet collar. The square neckline was very fashionable in the early 20th century, as were sheer sleeves. This option is made up in grey chiffon with an embroidered front insert. Option 3 is also based on the Burda-style double-layer dress, but uses a mix of crepe and chiffon to create a soft layered look. The V panel is lace-blocked with a scalloped edge, and the sleeves are again sheer. It also features sashes along the neckline and the waist. This option is in a dusty pink tone.
When we come back, we'll take an in-depth look at the times of Lady Mary.